Here in Paraguay and the rest of South and Central America are using fermentation already, you know, wine, vinegar, chichas, which are these fermented beverages, coffee, chocolate, these are all fermented products. It's just people maybe aren't aware that they're fermented.
Yeah.
So people eat fermented foods all of the time, but it's just this sort of renaissance of popularity and people shining a spotlight on some of the less well-known techniques.
The process of fermentation in gastronomy has been known and used for millennia. However, only until recent years has it become as ubiquitous and universally accepted as it is now. From its health benefits to its propensity for conservation, the technique is now being taught and utilized more than ever. Much of what we consume, from chocolate to coffee to bread, is fermented. However, we are often turned off to the idea of fermentation for its use of bacteria in the process. What we don't understand is that this type of bacteria benefits and protects us, as our bodies are composed of more microbial cells than actual human cells.
Ignacio, Mike, how are you? How are you? So this is your bakery? There you go, all right. Now what makes this bakery unique compared to other bakeries here in Paraguay?
Yo primero que vengo de una familia que tiene la panadería más antigua del Paraguay. Tiene una panadería que tiene 90 años. Las panaderías antiguamente trabajaban 24 horas precisamente por el control de eso que es la fermentación natural del pan.
In Paraguay, this process of fermentation has had a boom in recent years. In this episode, we learn about some of the actors and businesses that have been using this technique and propelling this not-so-new approach to gastronomy within its culture.
Caru hoy, yo lo que hice fue entender un poco eso. En Paraguay no tenía, digamos, referentes, y empecé a hacer eso, que son panes de masa madre. La fermentación es una renovación constante de microorganismos que entran en una actividad frenética, ¿no?, de alimentarse y de generar vida, que al final es eso, pero esto le sucede a todos los alimentos.
The benefits of using fermentation for bread, as you guys do, what are those? I mean, aside from it being able to last longer.
Esto es más antiguo que el ser humano. Todos los alimentos necesitan una condición que es agua. Donde hay agua, hay vida. Y donde hay vida, hay fermentación. Entonces, imagínate que este chocolate está fermentado. Necesariamente. La gente no lo sabe. El café que tomas todos los días está fermentado. La hierba, una buena hierba mate, es necesariamente fermentada. Y todo esto acaba siendo una suma. Vos te comiste una galleta, te tomaste un café y después un mate, y te tomaste 3 cosas fermentadas.
So you can really ferment almost anything.
Sí, todo.
That's the idea, right? We are now going to go into the kitchen and have a look at where all this fermented bread is created. How much bread do you guys make per day?
1000 kilos,
1,000
una tonelada.
Wow.
Una tonelada.
Wow.
O sea, es todo un proceso. En otros países tienen unas máquinas
Yeah.
que controlan. Aquí en Paraguay, claro, no hay tecnología.
So this is basically all made by hand.
todo.
It's all made by
No,
hand.
la masa madre la mezclamos a mano. Esto nosotros lo mezclamos a mano. Miren, okay. Esto lo acaban de alimentar. Okay. Esto está fresco. ¿Qué quiere decir? Esto ahora tiene que crecer por lo menos, ¿ven? La actividad que tiene. ¿A qué sabe?
A little bit acidic, little bitter, sweet. Yeah, a little bit of sweetness.
Bueno,
Yeah. It's good.
Queremos encontrar sabores que otros no tienen, queremos seguir descubriendo, enriqueciendo la paleta de sabores, pero en el camino esto tiene una coincidencia, tiene dos cuestiones fantásticas que son organolépticas, es decir, de sabor te da una cosa, de salud, y en este sentido, y toda la fermentación es un sistema de conservación de los alimentos.
This is rye bread they're making here. So they basically poured the dough onto the table, they're weighing it. Each loaf weighs 1 kilo, and it's important to maintain that. That's why they're weighing it over here, so that when they do cook the bread, it all cooks the same. There's none that are cooking either too much or too little. Yeah, all right. Oh. I'm a disaster here.
Vamos a tratar de salvar el pan de maíz. Hay que tocar muy poco para que no se caliente. Ves que la masa está fría. Entonces tenemos que tratar de no tocar tanto para que luego la fermentación también sea. Si se calienta mucho, mira, toca. Fría. Porque aquí hace 30 y pico grados, 28 grados. La fermentación es parte de la alimentación. Lo fue siempre. Ahora la gente se está como despertando, ¿no? Y eso me parece que es clave. Fermentación es cuidado. Y son los tiempos que hoy me parece que se van a imponer. Entonces esto te enseña de alguna manera a ocuparte de algo, ¿no?
Paraguay has been a country that has typically had traditional food, and the idea of fermentation has never really been the most popular. So we have come to meet up with a British chef and scientist who's here to help kind of push that idea and culture of fermented foods and cuisine. We're at a local restaurant, so we're gonna go check out what they've been working on and maybe try a few different dishes that they have.
So I'm a kind of a scientist, kind of a chef, and I work with the very best bars and restaurants all over the world. Normally or often places with like Michelin stars or people on the world's 50 best list. And I came here as a consultant to Santa Monica to help the owners and the chef team realize their vision of what they want to do with the restaurant. The concept really is to create a restaurant, and also not just this restaurant, but a group of restaurants within Asunción that can act as a platform to celebrate Paraguayan food and food culture.
Okay, so it is an interesting way of combining kind of a new idea, or not even a new idea, like you said, a very old idea, but a new concept for a lot of Paraguayans with their traditional food.
Exactly, and it's not about, this word elevating gets used a lot, particularly in high-end fine dining circles, like, okay, we need to elevate the cuisine from this country, and I disagree with that completely. We don't need to elevate anything. We just need to take exactly what's here and just celebrate it, and we can use some of these new techniques to just reinterpret some dishes or present them in a different way that makes them exciting, and maybe just changes how people feel about what exists here already. The question would be why bother fermenting? And the real reason is that you can create incredible new flavor compounds and flavor profiles through these transformative processes. So I'll give you a couple of the things that we've been making. So we took the bread that sometimes gets thrown away, and we turned it into using basically a Japanese technique. We turned it into this like a miso paste.
So this is made from bread?
This is made from bread, yeah.
Wow.
So it's quite strong. It's like an ingredient rather than...
Okay.
You don't have to try it, but you can.
I would love to, yeah. So
it's quite salty.
Yep.
And this will then go into sauces.
Oh, wow.
So
that is super flavorful.
So this is a lacto-fermented chilies. So kind of spicy.
So this is your own local kombucha here that you make at the restaurant?
Yeah, so we made this one actually with manzanilla. Most kombuchas you make to drink, but instead of using this one to drink, we will use it actually to make sauces.
Bianca Parra is an integrative health coach and has been studying medicine in Germany for over 7 years. Her experience in nutrition expands borders, and her techniques give people a new sense of how food can be consumed, as well as a different perspective on diets.
Nuestro intestino, no solamente nuestro intestino, sino todo nuestro cuerpo en realidad está compuesto por bacterias. Pero al escuchar bacteria no es bacterias malas que te causen infecciones, sino que son bacterias protectoras, ¿verdad? Tenemos también bacterias que protegen nuestro organismo de otras bacterias o de otros microorganismos. Y eso es lo que tenemos que proteger. Al alimentarnos mal, lo que hacemos es disminuir o atacar a estas bacterias buenas en nuestro organismo. Y esa capa protectora se pierde y eso puede generar muchísimas enfermedades. Aprender que la alimentación tiene una importancia mucho más grande de lo que nosotros pensamos, que nuestro intestino es nuestro segundo cerebro, ¿verdad? Que todo lo que nosotros comemos pasa por nuestro intestino y va a nuestra sangre, que nuestro intestino tiene conexión con nuestro cerebro, que todo lo que comemos afecta a nuestro cuerpo. Eso es punto uno. Una vez que uno ya sabe eso, ya tiene eso en mente, ya empieza a decir, tengo que comer mejor entonces. Tengo que comer un poco más equilibrado, no dieta, sino que un poco más sano.
As we've seen in Paraguay, fermentation is still a pretty new idea. We're on our way now to meet a guy who has a company that makes kombucha, among other types of fermented products. And kombucha has become quite popular now at a larger scale. So we want to see a little bit of how this company runs and maybe even taste a little bit of their fermented product.
¿Qué haces, Mike? ¿Cómo estamos, viejo? ¿Cómo estamos? Bien.
We make sauerkraut, we make kimchi, we make water kefir, kombucha, and well, we do make apple cider vinegar for our own use, and we make yogurt.
So how has kombucha become popular here? Has it become pretty popular over the last few years?
Well, it has become sort of popular. It's like everything in Paraguay, it's a slow pace.
Yeah.
It has benefits over health, so people try it because of that. It was popular. People used to make it at their homes. Obviously, it was just kombuchas. Kombucha was typically fermented forever, you know, just tea, sugar, and water, and the SCOBY. Now we mix it with a lot of flavors, of natural flavors, juices, so it's more palatable. Well, the basics of kombucha is you make a tea,
Yeah.
you sweeten it with, we use organic fair trade sugar cane, and you introduce a SCOBY or mature kombucha into it, which is, as I said, the SCOBY in liquid form.
Yeah.
And you let it ferment for about 7 to 15 days, depending on your vessel and depending on the amount of liquid you're trying to ferment, depending on, well, temperature, different variables, you know. Esto es un SCOBY de kombucha. It's actually quite nice. So we're gonna pour a bit of kombucha right here, and you can see it's quite clear because we're using green tea, matcha grade green tea. So we're using real good quality green tea made in Paraguay in Itapúa.
That's nice. I like that. Are people warming up to the idea of eating sauerkraut and kimchi and?
Very much so, very much so, yeah. Because this was always in the culinary world before we heard of kombucha, you know.